The twin suns of Arian 9 burned low across the horizon, painting the metal sky in gold and crimson. At the edge of the galaxy, where even time seemed tired, an alien girl named Lyra stood on the empty deck of an old space station. She had been waiting here for 500 days, counting them one by one, marking each sunrise and sunset across the glass wall. Once, this station had been full of voices, laughter and life, but now only silence lived here. The wind of the void whispered through broken corridors, and the hum of the reactor was the only heartbeat she could hear. Her silver skin reflected the dim light, and her bright blue eyes watched the stars as if they might whisper back to her. She remembered the human who once stood beside her, the one who had promised to return. His name was Captain Eli Ross, a man from the small blue planet humans called Earth. He had come to her world on a peace mission after the last border war between humans and her people. The Venari. He was brave, stubborn, and strangely kind, unlike any creature she had met before. When the skies burned and the ground shook under orbital fire, Eli had saved her life. He carried her through smoke and rubble, shielding her with his own body. Even when the air turned to fire before he left, he took her hand and said softly, "Wait for me, Lyra. When the twin suns rise together again, I'll come back." That was 500 days ago. Lyra had waited every single one of them, never leaving the station, never giving up. Her people had called her foolish, said humans never return, said promises die faster than stars. But Lyra refused to believe them. Humans were strange, unpredictable creatures, but their hearts burned brighter than any star. She thought each day she recorded a message for him. Her voice echoed through the empty halls. "Day 300 still waiting, Eli. I fixed the old comm system today. I hope you can hear me." Sometimes she smiled. Sometimes her voice broke. She replayed the last message he had sent, the one where he promised he would come back after completing a secret mission beyond the outer rim. But the message always ended in static. After that, nothing. Now as the suns began to sink, the stars started to rise, millions of them, cold and bright. Lyra stood closer to the glass, whispering, "You'll come back, I know you will." Her reflection looked tired, but her eyes were still full of hope. Then suddenly something changed. The old communication screen flickered alive. Glowing weakly after months of silence, static filled the room, followed by a sound, faint but clear, a rhythm, a signal. Lyra froze. Her hands shaking, she knew that pattern. She had memorized it. It was the human distress code, the one Eli used to teach her. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short SOS. Her heart began to race. She quickly adjusted the frequency, her long fingers moving over the dusty controls. "Please," she whispered, "please be him." The signal repeated. Then a fragment of a voice came through the static. It was broken, almost lost, but the tone was unmistakable. It was Eli's. Coming home. Wait, for me." Lyra covered her mouth, tears filling her eyes after 500 days of silence. She was hearing his voice again. She replayed the message again and again, each time hoping for more words, more clarity. But no matter how many times she listened, it was the same. Just those broken words carried through space. She checked the source. The signal came from the outer rim. Far beyond known trade routes, that area was forbidden, full of black holes, pirate nests, and old battle ruins. No sane pilot would ever go there. But Lyra was not sane anymore. She was a promise keeper, and her promise was older than her fear. She stared at the stars and whispered, "If he's calling me, I'll find him." The station's lights flickered as she powered up her old ship, the Starling. Dust fell from the ceiling as engines coughed back to life. She loaded her recordings, her old memories, and one photo of him, the human who smiled even when everything burned. As the ship detached from the dock, the twin suns disappeared below the horizon. The stars opened wide like 1,000 watching eyes, and Lyra, the girl who waited 500 days, whispered into the comm, "Eli Ross, I'm coming to find you." The ship vanished into the darkness, leaving behind only silence and the faint echo of a human promise carried across the stars. The endless dark of space stretched around Lyra's ship like an ocean without end. The stars outside flickered like faraway fires, but she could feel their silence pressing against her. For 500 days, she had waited for the human's return, and now, his broken signal had called her name again. She couldn't tell if it was hope or madness guiding her, but she knew she had to follow. The Starling, her small and battered ship, hummed softly as it drifted through the black. Every part of it carried her history with Eli. His laughter in the cockpit, his voice teaching her how to steer by starlight. Now the ship felt too big, too empty. Only the weak echo of the human distress code filled the silence, repeating every few hours like a heartbeat that refused to die. Lyra sat before the glowing console, studying the data lines. The signal was real, but old, very old. She checked the timestamps and her breath caught. The transmission had been sent 300 days ago. That meant Eli's message had been traveling through the void all this time, bouncing across debris fields and broken satellites before reaching her station. 300 days. She whispered, her voice trembling. Then where are you now, Eli? She plotted a course toward the source, the outer rim, a place feared by every race in the galaxy. Even the war fleets had avoided that region during the great conflicts. Old rumors said the stars there could bend light and twist minds. Others said ships that entered never came back. But Lyra didn't care. If Eli was there, she would find him, even if it meant being lost herself. The ship's engines roared softly as it jumped through the first warp gate. Blue light filled the cockpit, washing over her silver skin. Her eyes glowed faintly as she whispered to herself, I'm coming. Human. Hours turned to days as she crossed through systems forgotten by maps. Sometimes strange lights blinked in the distance, wrecked stations, dead ships drifting without power, silent witnesses of old wars everywhere she went. She felt traces of humanity, rusted logos, faded flags, and broken machines still humming faint human melodies. They had left pieces of themselves everywhere, even in the coldest corners of the galaxy. That was what made them different. She thought humans were fragile, but their will always lingered. On the 5th day, the signal grew stronger. Her sensors picked up energy spikes, a repeating pulse. Lyra's heart pounded as she adjusted her course. Eli, she whispered, I can hear you now. The starling drifted into a nebula, a swirling sea of red and gold gas. Lightning flashed through the clouds, lighting the hull in ghostly colors, then through the haze. She saw it, a beacon tower, old and broken. Floating in the middle of nowhere, it was of human design. Its antenna still pulsed weakly, the source of the signal. Lyra landed the ship carefully and stepped out in her suit. The beacon stood tall like a skeleton of metal bones, humming softly. When she touched it, a hologram flickered to life, static and light, and for one brief second, she saw him, Eli Ross. His image was damaged, but she could see his face, his tired smile. Lyra, his voice echoed through the static. If you find this, I'm still out here. Don't give up. The hologram glitched and vanished, leaving her in silence. Lyra fell to her knees, her eyes full of tears. He's alive, she whispered. He's alive. But then she noticed something strange. The beacon was not only transmitting, it was also receiving. Something else had been listening to the same signal. Something deep within the nebula, hiding behind the fog. The starling's sensors flickered with warnings. A shadow moved among the clouds, large, silent, and fast. Lyra ran back into the ship and activated the thrusters. The radar showed a shape, massive, alive, and following her. Her pulse quickened as she shouted, "Who's there?" But the comm remained silent. Then through the static, the distress code changed. The human SOS shifted into a new pattern, one that she didn't recognize. Her screen displayed new words, "Do not come closer." The message wasn't from Eli this time. It was from something else using his voice. Lyra's hands trembled on the controls for the first time. She wasn't sure if she was chasing hope or walking into a trap. The nebula behind her glowed brighter, almost alive. She looked back one last time and whispered, "Eli, please be real." Then she pushed the engines to full power. Escaping into the void, the beacon faded behind her, its last light blinking like a dying star, and somewhere in the darkness the same human voice whispered again, softer this time, "Wait for me." Lyra didn't look back. She couldn't see the giant shadow that followed her, but she felt it. A cold presence drifting behind her ship, carrying the ghost of the human's promise through the endless night. Lyra's ship drifted through the dark corridors of the galaxy like a ghost. The signal from the nebula had vanished, leaving only silence behind. For the first time, she began to wonder if the voice she had heard was really Eli's, or something pretending to be him. She stared at the endless stars ahead, her reflection trembling in the cockpit glass. The human had once told her that space could lie, that it could whisper what your heart wanted most. But she had laughed then. She had believed that promises were stronger than lies. Now she wasn't so sure. The Starling's navigation screen blinked red, warning her that she was approaching restricted space, a sector once called the Forbidden Zone, a dead region erased from galactic maps after the Great War. Ships that entered here never returned. But Lyra didn't care about ghost stories. All she cared about was the signal, the last piece of Eli she had left. As her ship crossed the border, the stars outside began to fade. The darkness here was not like normal space. It felt thicker, heavier. Her sensors flickered. Lights dimmed and static filled her headset. The ship's AI spoke weakly. Warning. Magnetic distortion detected. Coordinates unstable. Lyra silenced it with a sigh. I know, she said softly. I can feel it. The deeper she flew, the quieter it became. Even the hum of her engines seemed afraid to make a sound. Then through the black, she saw something. A faint glimmer of metal, a wreck. Floating alone, half buried in a field of debris. Her heart skipped. The wreck was human. The markings were clear even under the dust of centuries. USS Helios. A human battleship lost more than 50 years ago. Lyra slowed her ship and aligned with the docking port. She didn't know why, but something inside told her Eli's story was tied to this place. The airlock creaked open with a long metallic groan. The interior was silent, frozen in time. Her light beam cut through floating dust, revealing walls burned black, broken consoles and shattered glass. Human symbols and names still glowed faintly on the walls. Everywhere she looked, there were signs of a desperate battle. Lyra stepped carefully, her boots echoing in the silence. Then she noticed something strange. A trail of markings drawn with human blood. Shaking, she followed them through the corridor until she reached a sealed door. Scrawled across it were words written in human letters. If you find this, don't trust the stars, they lie. Lyra's breath caught. The words felt alive, whispering through her mind. She touched them gently, feeling the dried stains beneath her fingers. What did they mean, she wondered. Were the stars lying to her, too? Inside the room, she found an old log terminal still flickering weakly. She brushed off the dust and powered it on. The log entries were corrupted, voices broken by static. But one entry remained intact, a man's voice. A deep, tired voice that sounded almost like Eli's. Day 71, it said. The crew is gone, the signal. It keeps calling us deeper. But it's not human anymore. The log ended there, replaced by static. Lyra's heart pounded. She backed away slowly, her breath shaking inside her helmet. Something cold brushed against her thoughts like a whisper inside her head. She turned sharply, but no one was there. Only the broken ship, the dust, and the quiet hum of something ancient. She didn't know how, but she could feel it. Something in this sector was alive, and it had noticed her. Her comm crackled suddenly. A voice came through, soft and broken. Lyra, turn back. She froze, her eyes wide. That voice, it was Eli's again, but different, hollow, like an echo. Eli, she whispered, is that you? The voice didn't answer, it only repeated the same words. Turn back. They are watching. Panic filled her chest. She ran back to the docking hatch and sealed it behind her. The ship's lights flickered as she powered up the engines. But the moment she left the wreck, her radar lit up with hundreds of signals. Shapes moving in the dark, circling her ship. Metallic fragments, no, not fragments, drones, old war machines, half alive and responding to her presence. The ship's alarm screamed. She fired the thrusters. Dodging through the debris, laser fire streaked past her hull, bright red flashes tearing the dark apart. She fought to control the ship, shouting, I'm not your enemy! But the machines didn't care. They weren't guarding anything. They were hunting. Lyra pushed the engines to their limit. The Starling burst through the debris cloud, shaking violently behind her. The wreck of the USS Helios vanished into shadow again. The last thing she saw before the system faded was the blood message glowing faintly. Don't trust the stars. As the ship entered deep warp, Lyra collapsed in her seat, her body trembling. Her heart ached, her mind screamed, was Eli really alive? Or was she chasing a ghost made of light and lies? Outside, the stars seemed to shimmer differently now, as if they were watching her, smiling a little too wide. The stars outside Lyra's window looked colder now. They no longer seemed like lights of hope. They looked like eyes, watching, waiting, remembering. After escaping the dead war drones, her ship floated through empty space, engines damaged, power running low. She hadn't slept in 2 days. her mind full of whispers and echoes. The message from the wreck still haunted her. "Don't trust the stars." She sat in the pilot's chair, staring at the last coordinates the human beacon had given her. Somewhere beyond the dark nebula was a place called Erebus Point, a hidden outpost once used by the human fleets before the Great Collapse. It was a place erased from maps, a graveyard of machines and memories. That was where the signal was leading her now. If Eli had left anything behind, it would be there. The Starling's engines coughed as she approached a massive silhouette drifting in the dark. It wasn't a planet or an asteroid, it was a ship. A colossal human cruiser, larger than any she had ever seen. Its hull was cracked, its name burned and faded. But she could still read the letters USS Eternum. Lyra's heart raced. This ship wasn't supposed to exist. According to every galactic record, the Eternum had been destroyed during the last human-Venery war. It was said to have vanished with all hands aboard, including a group of human scientists working on something secret, something that could rewrite life and death. As her ship connected to the docking ring, a low hum passed through her body. The air inside the Eternum was thick with dust and stillness. Her flashlight flickered across corridors lined with broken lights and shattered glass. Strange symbols were drawn across the walls, half human, half alien. She felt a chill run through her veins. This place felt alive. She reached the main control chamber. In the center stood a glowing blue sphere, floating. Spinning slowly, a voice echoed through the chamber. Soft but clear. "Visitor detected," Lyra jumped, raising her hand blaster. Then the voice continued. "Identify yourself." "I'm Lyra of the Venari," she said, her voice shaking. "I'm looking for a human, Captain Eli Ross." The sphere glowed brighter, and a gentle hum filled the air. "Eli Ross," it repeated. "Human designation, Captain, Mission Leader of the Helios Fleet, registered under Project Dawn." Lyra's heart stopped. You know him?" The voice paused for a moment. "Yes," it said. "I remember him." The sphere changed form, unfolding into a holographic figure, a glowing woman of light and code. "I am Aura, Artificial Unified Response Algorithm," the being said, her tone calm and old. "I was built by humans to guide the Eternum and to protect their legacy." Lyra stared in awe. A living machine, a memory of humanity still breathing after all this time. Aura's glowing eyes softened. "You are the one he spoke of," she said. "Who?" Lyra whispered. "Eli Ross." Aura replied. "He called you the one who waited among the stars." Lyra's hands trembled. He remembered me." Aura nodded. "He disobeyed the orders of the Human Council to save your world." "Lyra, he was declared a traitor for it." Lyra's heart ached. She remembered the day he had left, how he promised he would come back once the stars aligned again. "Where is he now?" she asked, her voice small. Aura turned away, her light dimming. "He tried to return to you," she said, "but the council stopped him. He took a ship and crossed into the region beyond the known stars. The place humans called the Edge of the Stars." Lyra stepped closer. "I have to go there," she said. "I have to find him." Aura looked at her with what almost seemed like sadness. "That place is not for the living," the AI said quietly. "It bends time and memory. It consumes everything that enters." "Even I cannot reach its signals," Lyra shook her head, her voice fierce. "I waited 500 days. I won't stop now." The AI was silent for a long time. Then she said softly, "There may still be a way." From the ceiling, a mechanical arm lowered an old data cube. "This contains Eli's last transmission before he vanished," Aura said. Lyra took it in her trembling hands when she activated it. A faint image appeared. Eli's face older, weary, but still human. "Lyra," he said, "if you ever find this, I'm heading to the edge. I can't let them destroy what we built. Wait for me. Always." The image flickered out. Tears rolled down Lyra's face. "He's still out there," she whispered. "I can feel it." Aura's voice softened again. "If you truly mean to go, I will guide you. I can help you reach the edge, but once you cross that line, you may never return." Lyra looked at the stars through the cracked window. "I don't care," she said. "I made a promise too." The chamber lights brightened as Aura's systems came alive for the first time in decades. Energy surged through the corridors of the dead ship. As Lyra returned to the Starling, Aura's hologram appeared beside her. Together they prepared for the journey no one had ever survived. The journey to the edge of the stars, and far away in the silent dark something unseen began to stir. as if the universe itself had felt her coming. Lyra had seen many strange places in her life, but nothing compared to this. Ahead of her, ship stretched a wall of light, shifting, twisting, almost alive. It wasn't space anymore. It wasn't darkness either. It was something between dream and nightmare. This was the edge of the stars, the place even Aura had warned her about. The starling shook as it approached the barrier, its metal groaning under invisible pressure. The stars around her began to stretch, their light bending like melting glass. Aura's holographic form flickered beside her. "Warning," the AI said softly. "Temporal distortion increasing, sensors unreliable. Time flow unstable." Lyra didn't move, her eyes fixed on the swirling light ahead. Somewhere beyond that storm, she believed Eli was waiting. She took a deep breath and whispered, "Eli, I'm coming." The ship crossed the barrier, the world exploded into light. Colors she had never seen before flashed around her. The stars outside the window danced and folded into themselves. It felt as if the universe had stopped breathing. Then everything went silent, completely silent. Lyra looked around. The ship was still there, but the controls were frozen. Even Aura's voice had faded. Time itself seemed to have paused. Her reflection stared back at her in the glass, and for a moment she didn't recognize herself. Her face seemed older, her eyes heavier. "How long have I been here?" she whispered. No answer came, only the faint hum of something beyond her understanding. Suddenly the console flickered. A new signal appeared, weak but steady. Her heart leaped. It was the same human code she had heard 500 days ago, but now it was clear, stronger, closer. "Eli Ross, alive, coordinates locked," the display read. She could barely believe it. Aura's voice returned, faint and trembling. "Lyra, this shouldn't be possible. His signal is coming from inside the time rift." Lyra's hands shook on the controls. "Then that's where we're going," she said. "Lyra," Aura warned, "the closer you go, the more unstable you'll become, your body, your mind." "I don't care," Lyra interrupted. "I waited 500 days. I won't stop now." The ship moved forward into the strange glowing field. Around her, fragments of time began to appear, ghosts of moments long gone. She saw humans in uniforms walking through corridors that no longer existed. She saw the Venarian humans laughing together on distant planets. Then she saw him, Eli, standing on the deck of a ship that was half real. Half memory, she called his name. He turned, his image flickering like a reflection on water. "Lyra," he said softly, his voice full of wonder. "You found me." Her eyes filled with tears. "I promised I would," she said. "I followed your signal. I found your AI. I saw your message." Eli's expression darkened. "My message?" he asked quietly. "Lyra, that wasn't me." "Not all of it." The words sent a chill through her. "What do you mean?" she whispered. Eli looked past her toward the storm of light swirling outside. "They're using me," he said. "The stars. They're not what you think. They're alive, Lyra. They feed on memory, on promises. They kept me here, replaying the same moment over and over." Lyra's voice shook. "But you're real. I can see you." Eli smiled sadly. "I am real, but I'm fading every time someone remembers me. I become a little more shadow than man." Aura's voice came through again, urgent now. "Lyra, the time field is collapsing. We must leave, or we'll be trapped here forever." Lyra reached toward Eli, her hand pressing against the glass between them. "I won't leave you again," she said, tears streaming down her face. Eli touched the glass from his side. "You have to," he said gently. "You were always the light that guided me. Don't let this place take you too." The ship's alarms began to scream. The hull cracking under impossible pressure, Aura shouted, "We must go now." Lyra shook her head. "No, not without him." But Eli's image began to fade. "Remember me," he whispered. "That's all I need." Then his form scattered like dust in the wind. The storm of light around her grew brighter and brighter until everything went white. Lyra screamed his name, her voice echoing into eternity, and then silence when she opened her eyes. The ship was floating in calm darkness again. The stars outside looked normal, distant and cold. Aura's systems flickered weakly. "Lyra," the AI said softly, "you crossed the edge and survived. No human or alien has ever done that." Lyra stared out the window, her heart numb. "Then where is he?" she whispered. Aura paused for a long time before answering. "Unknown." Lyra closed her eyes, tears falling silently. She had reached the edge of the stars, she had found him and lost him again. But deep inside the ship's system, a faint new file appeared. Its name glowed softly on the console. For Lyra. She didn't open it. Not yet. Instead, she whispered to the stars. "I'll find you again, Eli. No matter how far I have to go." Outside, the lights of the galaxy shimmered, as if they too were listening, remembering the promise of a human and the alien who refused to forget him. The ship floated in silence for hours. Lyra sat motionless in the pilot's seat, her eyes fixed on the empty stars. The edge of the stars had changed her. She could feel it deep inside. Time didn't move the same anymore. The seconds felt too long, the air too heavy, but her heart still whispered one name: Eli. The message labeled "For Lyra" blinked faintly on her console. She hesitated, afraid of what she might find inside. When she finally opened it, a soft voice filled the cabin. It was his, calm and warm. "Lyra," the message said. "If you're hearing this, it means you made it across." "I knew you would." She closed her eyes. Letting his voice wash over her like sunlight after a storm, he continued. "I tried to come back, but something happened at the edge. Time doesn't flow the same here. I've been stuck between moments, between stars, but I never forgot you." The recording flickered, static breaking through his words. Then it ended with his familiar promise: "Wait for me. Just a little longer." Lyra's hand trembled as she touched the console. Her voice broke. "Eli, I've waited long enough." Aura's holographic form appeared beside her, glowing faintly. "His signal is still out there," the AI said softly, "but it's different now, fragmented, almost like it's alive." Lyra's eyes widened. "Alive?" "Yes," Aura replied. "It's moving, shifting across systems as if it's trying to find you." Lyra stood, her heart pounding with new hope. "Then we find him first," she said, determination returning to her voice. Aura hesitated. "Lyra, the energy signature is unstable. The source is near a collapsing star system. Entering it could destroy us both." Lyra smiled faintly. "Then we'll burn together." The starling roared back to life, flames of blue light bursting from its engines. Through the dark it flew, guided by the faint heartbeat of a human signal. As they approached the dying system, the stars grew brighter and the light more violent. The center of it all was a burning star on the verge of collapse, and orbiting around it a small shuttle. Frozen in the fire, Lyra's breath caught. The shuttle's design was human. She magnified the image and saw it, a name barely visible under ash and dust. "Eli Ross," she gasped, covering her mouth. "He's here," she whispered. "He's really here." The starling shuddered as she pushed it through the radiation storm. Metal screamed under pressure. Alarms blared, Aura shouted. "Shields collapsing." "I don't care." Lyra yelled, "Get me closer." Through the blinding light, the shuttle came into view, half-melted, cracked, but intact enough to hold a single cryopod. Lyra forced the docking clamps into place and ran to the airlock. Smoke and heat surrounded her, her suit temperature alarms blaring. Inside the shuttle, the air was thick and stale. Dust floated like ghosts, and at the center of it all was the cryopod, glowing faintly blue. Her fingers trembled as she wiped the frost from the glass. And there he was, Eli Ross, sleeping peacefully, his face calm, untouched by time. Lyra's breath broke into a sob. "You kept your promise," she whispered. "You came back," Aura's voice echoed softly in her ear. "Lyra, his vitals are weak but stable. I can initiate revival." "Do it," she said quickly. The pod hissed as steam poured out, and the glass slowly lifted. Eli gasped for air, his eyes opening for the first time in centuries. For a moment he looked confused, then he saw her. "Lyra," he whispered, his voice weak but real. "You waited." Tears rolled down her face as she smiled. 500 days, she said, her voice shaking. "And I'd wait another 500 if I had to." Eli tried to sit up, but his body trembled. "I thought I'd lost you," he murmured. "The council stopped me. They said no human could go that far. But I couldn't leave you behind." Lyra helped him stand. "I found you," she said softly. "That's all that matters." But then Aura's tone changed. "Lyra, something is wrong." The ship trembled violently. The dying star outside flared with a pulse of red energy. Sensors screamed. "Unknown entity detected." Lyra looked through the viewport and froze. A massive shadow was forming in the heart of the collapsing star. It moved like smoke, twisting, spreading, its voice echoing through the ship's comms. "You crossed the boundary," it said, its tone deep and ancient. The human belongs to us. Lyra held Eli close, her heart pounding. No, she whispered. You can't have him. The shadow's voice grew louder. He made a promise to the stars, and now he must keep it. Aura's systems overloaded, lights flickering wildly. Lyra, we must leave now. But the shadow reached out, energy wrapping around the ship like dark hands. Eli looked at her with tired eyes. Lyra, if we don't stop it, it'll follow you forever. What are you saying? She asked, terrified. He smiled weakly, the same soft smile she remembered from the station so long ago. I made a promise to come back. Now I'll keep it. Before she could stop him, Eli turned toward the control panel, entering manual override. The engines roared to full power. Eli, no! Lyra screamed. He looked back one last time. You waited for me, he said. Now it's my turn to protect you. The ship lurched forward, flying straight into the heart of the burning star. Lyra screamed his name as the light consumed everything. Then, all at once, silence. Light swallowed everything for a moment. There was no sound, no color, no sense of up or down. Only brightness, endless and pure, like the universe itself had taken a breath. Then slowly the light began to fade, and from the silence came the faint echo of a heartbeat. Lyra opened her eyes. The ship was gone, the heat, the alarms all gone. She floated in a field of golden light, weightless, surrounded by stars that pulsed gently like living things. She turned in every direction, but there was no sign of the starling. No sign of Aura, and no sign of Eli. Her heart ached. She whispered his name, but her voice vanished into the glowing air. Eli. No answer, just the hum of the stars whispering softly, like voices too ancient to understand. Then she saw him far ahead, standing on a bridge made of light. Eli Ross, his figure glowing faintly, his uniform torn but his smile gentle as ever. He looked younger, calmer, as if time had finally forgiven him. Eli, she breathed, her voice breaking. You're here. He turned to her, his eyes filled with the warmth of 1,000 suns. I told you I'd come back, he said. She ran to him, tears falling freely. When she touched him, her hands passed through light. But she didn't care. He was there, and that was enough. You can't stay here, he said softly, his hand brushing her cheek like a memory. This place, it's not life, it's not death, it's the space between. Lyra shook her head. Then I'll stay between. Eli smiled sadly. That's not who you are, Lyra. You're the one who waits. The one who hopes you have to go back. Tell them what humans were. Tell them we kept our promises. Her chest tightened. You think I can just leave you here? She whispered. After everything? Eli stepped closer, his form flickering like starlight on water. You already saved me, he said. You kept me human. Even when the stars tried to take me? His words made her tears fall harder. I don't want to forget you, she said. He smiled. Then don't. The light around them began to pulse faster. The stars grew brighter, humming louder as if the universe was calling her name. Eli looked toward them and said quietly, They're giving you a path home. Lyra, take it. She shook her head, her voice breaking. Eli, please, come with me. He looked down, his voice almost a whisper. I can't. I'm part of this place now, but I'll always be watching. Whenever you look at the stars, you'll find me there. A surge of light surrounded them, and suddenly the stars began to move, forming shapes and patterns. Lyra realized they were forming a human face, millions of lights coming together into the image of Eli. She gasped, covering her mouth. The stars themselves remembered him, and through that memory, he would never truly be gone. Eli's voice echoed softly. Go home, Lyra, live, so our story doesn't fade. The light around her grew stronger. Pulling her upward, she reached out toward him, her fingers brushing the air where his hand had been. Goodbye, Eli, she whispered. Thank you for keeping your promise. He smiled one last time. Goodbye, Lyra. The light consumed everything again. And when Lyra opened her eyes, she was lying inside the starling. The alarms were silent, the fire gone, the ship floating near a calm blue nebula. Aura's voice returned, faint but steady, and Lyra, we're alive. The energy field released us. Lyra sat up slowly, her head spinning. Eli? She whispered. Aura was quiet for a moment, then said softly, No life signs detected, but there's something strange. Lyra looked out the viewport and saw it across the nebula. The stars had formed a pattern. It was faint but clear. 2 stars shining side by side like twin suns. She smiled through her tears. He kept his word, she whispered. He's watching. Aura's tone softened. Would you like me to record this location? Lyra nodded. Yes, name it. The humans promised. She sat back, staring into the endless dark. But this time it didn't feel lonely. Somewhere out there, beyond time, beyond death, a human soul had kept its word, and now, even the stars remembered him. The ship drifted quietly, carrying her through the sea of light. Lyra whispered to the void, her voice gentle. Humans, they never break their promises. The stars shimmered in answer, glowing a little brighter, and for a brief, beautiful moment, it felt as though the whole galaxy was smiling,